All right, before I beam the warp, I want to do something that's going to protect my warp ends and the heddles in the shafts because they are rather delicate pieces of metal and I don't want to bend them out of shape. So what I'm going to do to help the warp ends progress smoothly from the front of the loom to the back of the loom as I wind them around the warp beam is I'm going to create or recreate the cross. Now, if I had known about this trick before I made the warp chains, I could have made 2 crosses as I wound the chains, but I only just learned about it last week, so this is my first time trying it. Please bear with me. So, how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my lease sticks. And lease sticks, to my mind, are one of the most underappreciated and underutilized parts of a loom. They are 2 flat pieces of wood. They've got holes in each end. They are just wider than the reed, so that even if you want to weave the entire width of your loom, you can use a lease stick, and lease sticks hold the cross, very simply put. So how am I going to get the cross back now that I lost it when I threaded all my heddles? It's very simple. I am going to lift, my pattern has built into it sections of plain weave, specifically for the hems. So if I lift the treadles that create the plain weave, I can slide a lease stick under it, under the yarns that are up. So I have lifted the 2 treadles that create plain weave. And why 2 treadles? Because I'm using something called a skeleton tie-up. And that's a cool rep weave thing. You don't need to worry about it at this point. But you can see that when I stepped on these 2 treadles, while I was holding on to the ends of my warp chain to create some tension, suddenly half the warp ends just came up to the top. So I slip my lease stick into the shed underneath these up threads, and then I set it down. Now I lift the other 2 threads that create, or the other 2 treadles that create plain weave, and the opposite warp ends come up. And now I slip my lease stick in there, and voila, I have recreated the cross. And to really keep this secure, I'm going to use these binder clips that you can find in any office supply store. And I just run them through the rings in the lease, or run the rings through the holes in the lease sticks and lock them shut. And bingo, I have recreated a cross. Whoops, that was not good. Okay. I have recreated a cross that will help keep all the warp threads in the order I wound them for the warp chain, in theory. And this will prevent bending heddles, snapping warp ends. Now, every weaver gets broken warp ends. It's just a fact of life. It's part of weaving. We all know it's going to happen. But I find it personally just a little distressing when it starts to happen before I've even started to weave on my project. Also, when warp threads break, it's because they've become caught in the eye of the heddle, and that usually means they're bending the heddle out of shape, and I don't like that. So this is going to be my new attempt at winding on, having recreated a cross, and this hopefully will mean I don't suffer a lot of frustration. Another reason I really want to avoid broken warp ends is because this is rep weave. Every single end that I've just laboriously threaded onto my loom shows up in all its glory in the woven fabric. Any warp ends that I have to correct, I'm likely to notice that I've made a correction, and I would rather have as perfect a weaving as possible. So we're going to see how this goes when I start winding on.